Oh, Jack also, he's been doing a Blow Your Own ornament thing. So check out the website on the card.
Yes, and it's a cool symbol too on that card, I think.
He stole Coca-Cola.
He stole it?
Yeah, let's see the flutist.
We're among poets here, so that's cool. Next, we're going to hear from one of the people who is going to have a poem on one of those C-Tram buses. So congratulations to her, and we're happy to have her here again. Erin Iwata.
Thank you. That was my first thing to be published, so thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, 2 short poems, longer one in the middle. Not that long, though. I don't write really long stuff. This one's called Disreality. After our meeting, I just wanted to sleep. Sleep for days. Let the drowsy drop over me, dark falling, heat rising, where nothing matters as my brain falls into autonomic response, inhaling, exhaling, my trouble slipping into an overinflated, colorless world where disaster and sexual encounter loom around fuzzy edges of disreality. I'll wake to 3 precious minutes where I remember nothing. This one's called Moving. Hulking round, rough-looking people with thick hands and clipboards came to tell us what has value and what they will haul to the dump. The sensation was waking the morning after a breakup. I hurried to collect my things that never belonged to me. As I fled down I-5, searching for the diner Grandpa frequented, a rusty sign told me Spires closed down. We'd have to go somewhere new. I couldn't even sit in the old sticky booths recalling conversations over chewy eggs and burnt coffee. Now I wait 55 minutes in a chic cafe for a breakfast I won't eat. A shiny blonde prattles on about the stress of her recent overseas trip, despising the European work ethic like they had none. I hated every minute, she announced as she twirls her hair with an air of self-righteousness. I wish I could hold on to it all. Spires and the avocados, his watery eyes and her no-nonsense way of viewing the world. I wish the giant desert rocks, dusty oranges, tart kumquats, and bleeding pomegranates could all come with me, mixed with the smell of baking bread and sauerkraut. I wish the Valley Girl would go away and the hipster pancakes would drop on the floor. The great tragedy is not death itself, but that all cannot be contained. I am no universe to hold these stories, even my own. Memories and future will fade, will all be hauled away by time. Last one, no title. It's true. We all live on the planet of the dying light. Swallows still rush to spiraling shelter. Crickets sing in cities. Sand and sweat mingle with song. Empires of ants grow and are crushed with no notice. The flow and rush of seasons continues. Loons call from the river's edge despite the coyote's distance. And each morning, if you stand barefoot in the dew, your feet will chill and the earth will warm them. The sun, though she's fading, gives nutrients. She never relents or slows her mercy.
Our friend T. Ponder was called away, and since he wasn't able to read, I offered to read one of the poems from his book. The book is called Temperature of Art, and he left behind some information in case you might want to pick up his book. This poem is called Rotten Cherries. This is the poem that he chose for you to hear. I bought a bag of cherries, rinsed, put them in a bowl. They looked so delish until I looked at them close. Appeared so gross, tossed a few fruits, disposed some more, handfuls tossed aside. That's all I had, a bag of rotten cherries. Thank you. And next we're going to hear from Russ. Come on down, Russ.
Wasn't planning to read anything at first, but I found a few one that was written about this time of year, and another that I felt kind of fit the season in its own way. And before that, in my hopper, I don't know how you all are with your process, but there's the writing, there's the thinking, and there's the thinking about writing. I was talking with Keith Ponder about that, doing a lot of the thinking about writing. And this has been tugging at me, especially in the last day, about self-care, positive attitude, things of that sort. And I was basically vowing to not allow myself to succumb to the seasonal affective disorder. I'm a Taurus earth sign, so I feel like my most productive time is spring through summer, and I don't want to waste a winter. Why? I'm indoors, I love to read. I really don't like the TV as much as it gets left on, so I like to turn it off, have music, sing, get inspired, do that sort of thing. So I made that personal vow. So this is not yet whole, but it starts out with a few questions and just see where it goes. How do we allow ourselves to forget that which is the maintenance we know our soul needs? Why do we lose track of the inner eye that endures, that place within where we know we are safe, that spot where we are confident in our strength, the point where we know tangibly the power of our potential and the potential of our power? So that's unfolding. There'll be more on that. This one is from a period a bit more intense about looking at the world. I wrote this in December 96, December 20th. It's titled Truth is Laughing. They hold their truths, printed on small scraps of paper, held together with Scotch tape between their clenched teeth. They hold their truth between clenched teeth, surrounded by plastic smiles, which conceal their conflict between self and other. They laugh through the clenched plastic grin. They laugh at themselves, at you, at me, at everything they do not understand. They continue laughing, becoming ingratiated in the sound made by the truth printed on the paper between their teeth. This one I picked because in its own tangential way, it does kind of relate to what I feel this time of year, this holiday season is about, especially if you try to think of it in a more universal and not a specific religious way. But I know that I wrote it inspired by a girlfriend at the time, and then I'm finding whenever I've written something that was coming from that place when I thought that's what I was writing about, I look back on it later and I find I'm either having a conversation more with something divine or universal or another aspect of my own self, more so than the actual person that I thought I was inspired to write about. So, trying to remember what this means. Pedas, I think, means friend in Indonesian. I'll have to review that. But there's three pieces that were inspired by this person who I knew and was very fond of right before I traveled to Indonesia. I had been studying Indonesian. This is Pedas 3. A piece of blue string, pine cone stub, and a rock sitting on aggregate fill. 3 simple objects remind me of other doodads on my windowsill. 3 objects, 3 kings. Light, love, and truth are always there. In everything, I see the reflections of the source. Thank you for opening my eyes to see this well-placed reminder. Elements are everywhere, flowing through it all. What reflections can I see in your eyes? What fine memories are there? Do you see me through your window? As I gaze across the battlefield, the menagerie lays toppled, vanquished by the vertical Venetians. Through the remains of the skirmish, I see you. I never stop seeing you. I love you. And I've always felt, and I've felt like I always have. Do you see my reflection as I see yours? The dance begins once again. Thank you.
Our next reader has also been coming since the very beginning of the series, and in fact is one of the only people to have guest hosted when I wasn't able to do it. And he also happens to be a great photographer. He has this piece in the show that's just to my right here, close to the door. And yeah, please say hello to Jim Martin, and then take a look at his photo anyway.
Say don't read the title if you look at it. It's very, very long. Well, I have two things.
Can you turn the mic a little bit closer to you, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have two things. No, I
How
have
many?
two poems. I always say you have to have calculus to stand up here and actually figure out what you're doing. One is a little long. No, it's not. About a page. And one's very short. I'm really interested in brains, and every now and then I get back into it, and I kind of get lost and sink down and move around. This one is called How Do Minds Work? How can such a small thing, a brain, hold a universe within it? Emergent thought stepping this way, then that, wending their way to expression. Brain's travels leave their traces. Single neuron fires, Hydra's wall contracts. Simple beginning. Slow accretion of other neurons, more contractions, complex connections. Learn what's outside. Respond, build more parts. Know, control and coordinate body. Communicate with other bodies. The universe builds a mind. And then this one, I've gone back to something I did years ago. It might have been Robin's idea, I don't know. Just taking a random sample of words, lining them up, 1 to 10 or 20 or 30 or 100, and using them maybe as last words in a line or as first words in a line, or just words to confuse you. This is a very short one, and I'm going to start going back to this. I'm hyperactive, and I tend to just go off in different directions, and this may help me to kind of focus a little bit because I have a hard time focusing. Across the field, 2 stragglers. Chain links on cross trees clink. Fat man mutters something vulgar. Wife lays down her reading. Rainbowed sky whispers sundown. Days, pages in a book without number.
Thank you, Jim. And our next reader was our feature last month, so please, let's welcome back Kristen Rodell.
Hi. I think you could probably say that for the most part I'm not a political person. It's kind of soul-killing. But every now and then something swims into my view. I don't know if any of you recognize this, but this went viral last month. And so I wrote this poem for the child who washed up on the shores of Greece, seeking refuge from Syria. And it's titled Syria. More important than the fact that my husband and I never talk politics because it ends badly. More important than the neighbor with the venomous tongue who always votes for the elephant. It's in the room. I hate to cross her, but there's that photo of a child on the beach. At first glance, he looks like a seal or a clump of kelp or a twist of wet clothes. It's how he points away from the camera and that the dead always look so small. It cannot be unseen. I am crossing my husband. I'm crossing the neighbor, the street, to write a few poems that are costly and free, because poets have a voice, and this is mine. Open, arms, doors, hands, borders, books, selves. Make an opening of some sort and let it bleed. You no longer have the right to be well. Then close this one thing only and seal it up. Your fear of that small boy and the way his pockets were turned out on the sand.
Thank you, Kristen. I went to the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics, where experimental poetry is definitely loved and accepted and encouraged. And Lawrence Ferlinghetti came and talked to us, and you know, not everybody was in their 20s, but a lot of people were. And the main message that Lawrence got to across to us that day was to, you know, write poems that are about something. And so thank you for a poem that's about something, you know. I mean, and I write some of this so-called experimental poetry too, but it's really important sometimes to just bring it back down to earth, even us word people, and use our facility with words to talk about the really important shit. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks for letting me.
Yeah, sure.
You could kind of tell I'm a little impassioned by it.
Yeah, and we need to share that passion, and we need to, I mean, the other thing that Ferlinghetti says is that we're all citizens of the world who have a responsibility to address these issues, and actually that the world is counting on us in particular to address them. So he would be very much behind what you just did, for sure. And he's no slouch. And next we're going to hear again from Kristen's daughter, Genevieve. Welcome back, Genevieve.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so small drama queen who the mic is too big for. Okay, there we go. So I have two poems today. One of them is something that was a little bit out of my comfort zone when I wrote it. It was, I took a creative writing class in college, before immediately dropping out because college, my creative writing teacher said something that really struck me of believe in the sufficiency of nouns. And so the entire poem started with me thinking that a hero's journey kind of ends rather abruptly without a real happily ever after, which of course led to Frodo. And so this quote starts off with a quote from, or this poem starts off with a quote from Frodo Baggins as I started just kind of analyzing what I thought a real hero's journey would be like. There are some wounds that do not heal, some hurts that go too deep that have taken hold. I dream of things friends say I should, till my friends learn how dark I dream things. Fate-twined blades and rattling war cries, left echoing in romanced eras long past. The blood and gore and death are censored, there but forgotten, like the bruise on the cheek of a victim lost to love. Behind my eyelids, crooked nightmares. These whispers in my head shout, "This is wrong!" Desecrating innocence, suicide by self-sacrifice. That bloody tyrant murdered by these hands you've molded well. I know now why you vanquish, not kill, when my eyes so young turn questing. I dream of things friends said I should, till they learned how twisted sorrow made me. Happiness hard won but turned bitter, a wedding with the front row seats left empty. After currents of grief and loss distort an ending rightly earned. The ring is cold and hard and glinting, and my eyes, she cries, are the same. But this mind can't hide from battle, agonizing and returning to fields wet with wasted life, fingers dripping crimson. And in this, I had trouble with my phone, I apologize. And in this ongoing dark moment of my, just keep going, yep.
They're with it, they're with it.
Yep. And in this ongoing dark moment of my heart, my eyes turn inward and watch the journey. Chipped knife becomes polished blade. Knobbly fingers grow calloused and long. And my eyes that turn to you for guidance now flick away, narrowed in hate and paranoia. A downward stroke and blood pooling. Those fickle crowds cry their exultation. A hollow reminder of the reasons I chant at night when the silence burns me restless. My soul's a map of scattered scars, and the justification's easier when people drown my disagreement. Death is an existence, a way of life. A way of life turned away in the face of nothing, where before the hope of after was one to strive for. Where did my courage go? Fumbling in my soul for wings that could rise and bring me with them. The face of terror takes the form of loved ones breathless, full of peace they forbid you from ever seeking. Now I ask, what is justice? Mere vengeance, given a pretty name. Murder's what we do, one man's freedom, another's death. My hands drip crimson, the crowds exult. As I stand alone on fields, soaked red, head held high and crying. As my worldview crumbles to nothing, pointless, pretty, and easily replaced. Okay, and my last one is I do a lot of experimental things. I like trying new things. I'm not sure how many people were here from last time I was here, but this is a similar poem of just bullet points that I hit in a completely impromptu poetry. Also, a poem of self-exploration. I'm not sure how many other people remember being 20 like I am, but definitely it's a self-absorbed time as you try to figure out where you're going in life. So, I titled this one Contours because it's just the first thing that came to mind. Definitely doing this because this is easier. The contours of my mind aren't bloody or broken, nor shiny and pretty and full of pink and unicorns, though definitely unicorns do feature strongly. The contours of my mind are a little bit like Middle Earth right after the Battle of Helm's Deep, where there's cracks and there's brokenness and the fault lines seem like they might be splitting, but at the end of the day, those lines are melted in gold, as all of the people with ichor in their veins are immortalized in the ground beneath me. And those unicorns that I ride with me and my kitten ears are definitely war unicorns that I use as sturdy steeds, riding into battle against the fields of chaos, saying, "Ah!" and onwards. And the colors in my mind are definitely vibrant, on a background black and white to soak in the contrast. There is no gold except in the sky, as everyone strives for immortality, and definitely, of course, that's what gold is. Green, life, and good and pure, and of course, that's what the good guys wear when they're not too busy crying about justice. And definitely blue is, of course, the evil ones, because how could you be anything but dark and angsty when you're clearly the color of the ocean and they're drowning? Of course, that's the terms that people like that always use, right? And definitely blue is royalty and too high and superior and above all of this stuff, so I guess that makes them independents, or is that moderates? I don't really know. At this point, the colors seem to blend a lot together, and everyone's wearing sashes, and it's kind of a crazy place up there. And no, I'm not really in there very often. You wouldn't want to be in there either. And sometimes I wear red when I wander through the streets that are cracked with dirt and soaked in oh so many pretty sparkles that look very, very much like the fragments of little dreams that I drew away with when I grew too old for pink and unicorns to go together. And the times when I wear red is because I want to stand out, because of course red is vibrant and glorious and looks oh so pretty on black. And of course I look special and unique, and I'm 20, and that means something to me because the world's a big place and I feel kind of small, and this personality's a little bit too big for this. Every now and again I feel like that one song, what was it called? Something about control, which I don't have, and words about my soul being too big for my body. Yeah, that sounds right.
Dark triangle, a revelation worth waiting for. Tyranny of the refrigerator hum grates like the sight of a tiny little hat atop a giant head. Not every poem has the stones to be the best chicken sandwich on Strong Island. I feel I want to share with you where that chicken sandwich came from. There's a guy on Long Island who's a poet who owns a sandwich shop that proudly announces with a big sign that they have the best chicken sandwiches on Long Island. And when you read there, and I was a feature, there's about enough room for 2 or 3 really little tables. I mean, it's a really small place. So when you're the feature, you go behind the counter and stand next to the meat freezer, read over the counter to the people there. And of course, because it's his shop and he can do what he wants, he has his book of poetry up there right next to the sign that says, best chicken sandwich on Long Island. So this is about a friend of mine, or it's for a friend of mine, Dean Haspiel. Dean and I went to film school together at SUNY Purchase in New York quite a long time ago, and he became quite successful after that as a cartoonist, and actually won an Emmy for doing the title sequence to Bored to Death. So if any of you saw that, that's Dean. So this is about seeing Dean again at Comic-Con after many years. Jesus Buggy Epiphany. Stunned me to my soul to be reminded how faulty the story I told myself and all who would listen about myself for what seems like decades. A smile from an old pal, 20 years in the making. You're one of the good ones. Enough to cure me, to demonstrate how wrong-headed the albatross, entirely self-imposed, of this perception of my younger self. Your smile more than enough to have a little compassion, to once again realize that we have no idea what we mean to others, no conception of what they see. I should probably show that to him. I didn't, but we had a good time, and he was so good to my son. I mean, this is a guy, because he's really in that business, who was able to like walk us around to all the different booths and knew all these people who were really a big deal in my son's eyes. I mean, I read comics too, but he knows so much more about it, and was just super cool to him, was not a dick to him at all, you know, so. And he's great. One of the people that Dean worked with was Harvey Pekar. So if you like Harvey Pekar, check out some of the stuff that Dean did with him. And then this is, I call them collage poems. This is all found material. It's called We're Gonna Find Out the Fate of Humanity. The boy, the beast, and the butterfly walk across a bridge of magpies dropping shards of love. A whole new side to the Luna mythos. Freedom within form. Sublime and beautiful, raw and painful and ugly, dangerous, made me wish for a village. The little me that wanted to be a painter launched into a lifetime of mediated experience. Finite number of words, infinite number of possibilities, an irresistible mix of art and genitals. Brings that transcendence into our lives, teaches us how to feel, what our parameters can be, what sensations can be like, makes us more engaged with life. So I borrowed there from Patti Smith, Miles Hewitt, our local national student poet, Wendell Pierce, Karen Reed, Rebecca Wolf, Helen Mirren talking about Caligula, and Jeff Koons. I'm one of the guys who looks at the stuff that Jeff Koons does, and instead of hating him, I just smile. I think it's cool. So I wanted to give John Trudell the last word. This is called Rant and Roll. And these are probably song lyrics, but I'm going to do my Steve Allen thing with it. Welcome to Graffiti Land. All the rides are in your head. The ticket is what is thought and what is said. Our attitudes are climbing. We don't have time for more mind-wasting lies. Whatever it is you're doing, we're not going to buy it. It's time to say something, not a time to be quiet. Rant and roll, heart speak from the spirit. Say it loud so everyone can hear it. Say what you mean what you say. Rant and roll when you feel that way. Religions of men heavy with fear, industrial war against the land. Every woman knows the fugitive. Rich men keep living off the poor. The soul is what's left after they eat your spirit. When every act is an act of self-defense, we have to do something or perish in the pretense. In this together and on our own, a reality of how we feel. Either we can dance with someone or we can dance alone. A plurality of sight and view. We and us are me and you. Predator views are way too tragic. Mother Earth gives us power. Father Sky makes us magic. Life doesn't have to be bitter, even when it's not always sweet. Synchronicity is the rendezvous when magic and power meet. Rant and roll, heart speak from the spirit. Say it loud so everyone can hear it. Say what you mean what you say. Rant and roll when you feel that way. John Trudell. I want to say thank you again to Karen McPherson and Tim Shaner for being here. And my wife Tony and co-host. Thank you, Tony.
Join us Sunday at the Westfield Vancouver Mall at 1 o'clock at the food court for the revealing of Poetry Moves.
Yes.
And the poets will be there to read their poems.
And I heard today from one of the people at C-Tran that it's possible some of these have already been put on the buses. So if you feel like taking a bus ride in the next few days, you might see some of these channel cards. Yes, also thank you to Leah and all of the staff here and for indulging us and for having us here and wanting to have us here. So if you haven't already, settle up your check and tip them well, and we'll see you next month in January with we're going to do, in the coming year, we're going to do a few different shows where we showcase regulars to the series. And so we're going to start that in January with Nathan Tompkins and David Nelson. So don't miss that. See you next month. Thanks so much.